All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update. Now, I'm recording this late at night, and I'm going to have it released. So when you see this, it'll be the morning, but it has been a very active day all over Twitter and on YouTube in regards to Netflix and the changes that are making with Scott Stuber leaving and with the end of the quarter results and the financials that came out yesterday. And a lot of analysis has been done. And since my last video, I've been digging deep into a lot of the things that were released. I've been reading the comments on Twitter, and I want to explain in this video how there is a road for Netflix to finish off the Snyderverse and make it very profitable for both Netflix and for Warner Brothers. And I'm going to tell you right up front, what I'm about to tell you is going to be a very real possibility. The problem with what I'm going to tell you is I don't think Warner Brothers is going to go for anything like this simply because they don't want to be made to look stupid. The studio has been shamed several different times. They were definitely shamed because of when Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Edition came out. They were shamed when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. That was probably one of the dumbest things a studio has ever done, because when you go to try and watch a theatrical version, it's like unwatchable now. It's like it's not watchable. It's just not. And how they had that and they decided to go with this is just, it shows you how incompetent they are. Now with everyone wanting David Ayer Suicide Squad released, that's another win-win for both of them. But I don't think the studio is willing to show how incompetent, especially when people like Peter Safran are still over there. He's the other co-CEO. And again, you know, James Gunn was hired as a co-CEO. He was not hired as a director or a writer, yet he's writing and directing everything. And so things look really wonky down there, but I am going to talk about the road on how they can get there. But first, before I do that, I want to talk about Rebel Moon, because the financials came out for Netflix, and they gained about 5 million more subscribers than they had anticipated. Now, I had a lot of people come at me on Twitter, and I'm just not going to deal with these people anymore because for one, I don't have the time and the energy to do it. Because these people, a lot of them have comprehension problems, okay? I'll make a statement on there, and I'll show you one of these statements, and I'm going to talk about what some people said and the reality of the situation. So this was my post on Twitter, and it said, Rebel Moon helped Netflix gain 13 million subs in the fourth quarter. Now look how I said Rebel Moon helped Netflix gain 13 million subs in the fourth quarter. 5 million more than expected. It was far from a flop and is 100% safe at Netflix. I said, telling yourself anything else is a lie. Now, you could see that I had over 57 comments on this, and it was shared 59 times, 188 likes. The people who are so anti-Snyder got on here and said, there was so much more involved. They talked about, password sharing. Someone even went so far as to say that the last Airbender and the acquisition of the WWE had to do with these 13 million subs. Now, back up here, people. First of all, they are unwilling to even admit to any degree that Rebel Moon had anything to do with the gains, and that is simply not true. Now, I'm going to address the subscribers, the 5 million more than they had anticipated. They already knew and had factored into that 8 or 9 million that they had expected. They had already factored into that the people that they expected to sign up from password sharing. Now, not everybody who is password sharing is going to sign up. There are just people who will either go to their parents' house or they're just not going to sub. It's that simple. To assume, those people are assuming that all of these subs came from all of those people with password sharing. They won't even acknowledge Rebel Moon at all. And then they'll go on to talk about the other projects. Now, I want to address the Last Airbender as well as the WWE. The WWE acquisition was not even announced until yesterday. So that had nothing to do with the fourth quarter numbers. Avatar hasn't even been released. That had nothing to do with the fourth quarter. The only thing that had to do with the fourth quarter was what I shared in my last video. Rebel Moon was the most prominent, well advertised thing out of everything that they had. It's a fact. And so you cannot tell me that those 13 million subs were solely because of the signups, because of password sharing. Netflix didn't say that, didn't assume that, and nobody else should too. I had a lot of people comment just on my thread. So there were some people in my comments that even said, I signed up Netflix specifically for Rebel Moon. I'm a very small channel. You multiply that times all the people everywhere, you betcha a lot of those 13 million subs came from Rebel Moon. To say that it didn't is just asinine. The other thing I want to discuss is the success of Rebel Moon. People keep telling me it was a failure for Netflix. The movie sucks. It's dragging Netflix down. And that is not the case. How Netflix works is they have an X amount of dollars that they will spend on a film, and then they need X amount of views to consider that a success. And I'm going to show you what somebody else posted to kind of show this. So here it is. This person, LC, they were talking so much common sense in my comments, and other people were piling, and I just told them, just don't even interact with these people. They're thick in the head. They're not going to pay attention. They don't care about the facts. And so this person said, you're asking me what the bar is to determine whether this movie is a success. According to Netflix, movies movies like Red Notice, with a $200 million budget, Netflix expects over 70 million views in the first 28 days to consider it a success. Rebel Moon's budget was $166 million, so that's for both movies, people. That means about 80 million a movie. And crossed the 74 million view mark in 25 days. It way exceeded what Netflix needs to consider it a success. And considering that there's still another movie coming out in April and then the 2 extended versions, this is nothing other than a bonus for Netflix. It is a success all the way around. And if you come in and you try to say otherwise, you're being ignorant. That is utter and total ignorance. That is the definition of ignorance. These are real numbers. This is what Netflix requires for something to be a success. And so Rebel Moon, whether you like it or not, is irrelevant. It's the amount of people that signed up and the amount of views that it got. These people who are so anti-Snyder, they have to keep changing the goalposts to try and get you into an argument with them. And I'm not doing it anymore. I just don't have the time or the energy. And so this is just crazy, guys. This is crazy. All right, now let's get into how Warner Brothers and Netflix can get together to release or do the last part of the last 2 Justice League movies and possibly some other films and make it uber valuable for them. So as we know, Netflix is going the route of live sports, and they paid $5 billion for I can't remember if it was like a 10-year deal with the WWE. I'm not a WWE fan, so I can't talk to the deal. But what I can say is that $5 billion shows that they do have money to spend, and that if the property is worth purchasing, they'll do it. They'll license it out. Now, a lot of people tried to tell me that with those numbers that they aren't going to license anything anymore, and that's not what their statement meant. It meant that they're not going to pick up any new studios. It clearly states that they're not going to pick up that there's too many consolidations with the studios going on, and they don't want to consolidate into like a dying brand. Like they don't want to absorb Warner Brothers. They don't want to take on Universal. That they're going to stick with their originals and also licensing out, because I showed you in my last video how they talked about licensing projects from other studios was a big bonus for them, like they got the whole DCEU catalog except for the extended versions of Batman vs. Superman and also of Zack Snyder's Justice League, but they got almost everything else. And that's a bonus for them. That brings in viewers, it brings in subs. There are some people that are never going to sign up for any of the services, but they'll sign up for Netflix. And so That's a win-win for them, and they have publicly stated that it's a win for them, and the more Zack Snyder they have on there, the better they're going to do. Know that Rebel Moon is completely safe on there. We're going to get part 2, and there could possibly be a part 3 and a whole world coming. It's an original IP for Netflix. It is performing extremely well for them. The haters out there could say, well, it's not in the top 10 anymore. It's not this and not that. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. What's relevant is the amount of subs they got and also how many views it got. And it already surpassed what it even needed for both films to be released. So any views now, all the views that they're going to get come April and all the views they're going to get in the summer, it's an all bonus for them. It's great. It's going to bring people, signups. It's nothing other than gold for them, okay? And that's a fact. So here's how they can obtain the DCEU, continue it on Netflix, and have it be profitable for both. But I don't think Warner Brothers would ever go for this. First of all, they can license it out for a lot of money. We know that Netflix is good for the money. If you look at their stocks, they're in better shape than any other streaming service, okay? They also had the most nominations at the Academy Awards this year. So Netflix is doing phenomenally well all the way around. You cannot spin it any other way. They have the money to spend. The problem is Warner Brothers going to play ball. So here's how they could make it beneficial for both of them. And they'd have to have somebody write up a contract stating, what percentages go where. And I'm not even going to get into all of that because it can get really complicated. And that would be for the studios to decide. But we know that Netflix has the money to do it. All they need to do, and this is what I would do if I was in their position, is I would spend the money to acquire it. Get everything in place, right? Make those films, and then for a 4-week period, release Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and Zack Snyder's Justice League 3 in theaters to give everybody the opportunity to go see it at the movies to gauge the popularity of it. I'd go see it a dozen times if they do that. So a 4-week period to do major theatrical releases. They could make this a big announcement with Netflix. They could do this as a huge event. I think it would get people ridiculously excited. Go release it for 4 weeks in theaters. Let people know that in 4 weeks it will be airing on Netflix. Then when it airs on Netflix, you're going to get a bazillion views on those movies. Okay, it would definitely, I can guarantee you if they got those two, it's going to beat out anything else they have on their service. And I'll point to the numbers, that people talked about for HBO Max, but they had a very minuscule number of subs. You do what Netflix has, all those numbers are going to exponentially go up, okay? And so they would get all those streams, which would definitely benefit them. They'd get a bunch of signups. They'd get more subs. It's a win-win. And then have it exclusive on Netflix for 1 year. When that 1 year is up, release those movies on physical media. Release them on 4K, Blu-ray, DVD, and reap all of those sales. And also merchandising for them, because we know that the merchandising sells like crazy. And a lot of people don't realize that Star Wars actually made most of its money off of, when Star Wars got made, George Lucas didn't have the money to make parts 2 and 3. And so he made a deal with the studio that he would just take the proceeds from the toys, and he made billions of dollars. Billions. Okay? There's no reason why they can't do this same thing, because the interest is there. It is there, no matter what anybody says. So it would be beneficial. Now, the thing that they would have to do is keep the budget as low as they can, like what they did with Rebel Moon. And this is going to be the key, is to keep it as low as they can. But they have a good working relationship with Zack Snyder. This is a win-win for everybody. They could bring Ben Affleck back into the fold. They could get the Batfleck movie made. They could get the Air cut. And then just have somebody write up an agreement of what percentages are going to go to which studios. This would be a win-win for Warner Brothers. It would be a win-win for Netflix. It's going to appease all the fans that Warner Brothers has pushed away. And it's just nothing other than gold for everybody. But here's the problem. Here's why this won't happen. Because Warner Brothers is full of people who don't care about the money. They only care about the agendas that they're trying to push through and the things they're going to do. Gunn, there's no question about it. The guy is a narcissist. He was never hired to come in and be the writer and director of everything, which is what has happened. Now, luckily, he's not the guy at the top. It's Zaslav. And I'm hoping people at Warner Brothers, maybe, because my channel is getting bigger, maybe people down there, maybe they're paying attention. Maybe. And I hope they would. Because I'm telling you, that what's happening now is not going to bode well for Superman Legacy. I don't think they've realized how many of the fans and the people out here who enjoyed the DCEU, how many of those people they have pissed off by doing what they did. I don't think they understand how this is going to affect the brand to the point where people just are not going to go to the movies to see these films. They're just not going to be interested. Now, I'm going to see all of them. I'm going to watch things I don't even want to watch because I have to do reviews on them. And unfortunately, that's, my channel is a review channel above everything else, and I'm still going to continue to do analysis on DC and everything, but I am a review channel, and I implore all of you who watch my DC content, please watch those reviews too. Even if you just play them in the background, do whatever. It helps support my channel because the more you guys support my channel, the more stuff I'm going to be able to do and the bigger it will grow and the more influence I can have out there. I would love to sit down with Zaslav and pick his brain. I would love to sit down with James Gunn. I'd love to sit down with the board down there at Warner Brothers and really pick their brain and see why they're doing certain things and actually show them a path. This video is proof that there is a path that they can all go down that will please everybody. And it doesn't have to affect anything that Gunn's doing. But again, I don't think they'll do it because whatever they release is going to be far better than anything they have planned. And I'm going to do a formal update that will come out later today. And we're going to see some of the stuff that came out from DC and some of the rumors that are floating around. There's a Supergirl. There's also a rumor about how the studio's afraid of Superman Legacy because of a certain thing. I've got some things I'm going to share tomorrow in another update. And so, well, it'll be today by the time you guys see this. But keep an eye out for that video later. I do appreciate all the support. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. I do appreciate all the support. We'll see you guys on the next video.